All right, hey everybody, this is Brian B here with Double B Marketing, and one of the questions I hear all the time is, are hip flexor muscles? And so, what we want to do in this video is we're going to break down and answer that question, right? And then also, I'll give some insight on, something that you can possibly do to work out these muscles. So, one, let's see if we can actually spell stuff right. I think that's how you spell muscles, right? So our hip flexors muscles. What I'm going to do is toss it over to someone who's actually in the medical field, and let's see what they have to say about the hip flexors.
On to hip flexors. This tutorial we're going to focus on identifying the iliopsoas muscle group and describing their actions and innervations. All right. So the hip flexors really comprise one muscle called the iliopsoas muscle that really is comprised of two muscles, the iliacus or iliacus muscle, as well as the psoas major. So let's focus on first the iliacus muscle. It arises from the iliac fossa on the ilium, hence the name iliac fossa, and it inserts on the lesser trochanter of the femur. And so there in purple we see this lesser trochanter of the femur. Then the psoas major, which arises from a little bit from that T12 level, but the L1, L2, L3, L4, and L5 lumbar vertebrae and transverse processes, and then inserts on the lesser trochanter of the femur. So there we have in yellow the iliacus muscle, and in orange the psoas major muscle. And then shown there is the inguinal ligament, that bottom of the external abdominal oblique muscle. And what we see then is the iliacus and psoas major, deep or below the inguinal ligament, kind of come together in the same fascial sleeve and attach to the lesser trochanter. So Anonymous said, well, the iliacus muscle, will add the word ilio, and the psoas major muscle will add the word psoas, and we'll call it the iliopsoas muscle when these muscles come together below or inferior to the inguinal ligament. So there we have the iliopsoas muscle. And these two muscles, since they attach to the lesser trochanter and cross vertically in front of the hip, they're going to flex the hip or cause hip flexion from this position to this position. Hip flexion. All right, now let's talk about the innervation of these hip flexor muscles. Well, the psoas major is innervated by the L2 spinal cord level via the ventral ramus. And so all we do is show the L2 spinal cord level, put a motor neuron in the ventral horn, send it out, and then it's just a branch off the ventral ramus. That goes to the psoas major. Sometimes it's a branch from the L1, and in fact, you'll see some levels coming off of L3 and L4. But for the scope of this course, basically, L2 ventral ramus is what innervates the psoas major. Now, the iliacus muscle, it's also the L2 level, but it's via the femoral nerve. Now, how does this work? So there is the lumbar plexus, and there we've got the L2 spinal cord level. And so we see the whole femoral nerve that comes from L2, L3, and L4, but the level that goes to the iliacus and the femoral nerve is very heavy on the L2 level, which makes sense because you remember the L2 myotome flexes the hip. All right, how about hip flexors in a nutshell? Well, there we have our iliopsoas musculature, the psoas major and the iliacus, and the psoas major is innervated by the ventral ramus of L2, iliacus from the femoral nerve via L2, and these muscles cause hip flexion, and they both attach to the lesser trochanter.
Want to create. All right, so you can see there that obviously the hip flexors are muscles, and it's something that you want to strengthen. Now, if you're having some hip flexor issues, one of the things that I do want to recommend is it's actually this program which is called Unlock Your Hip Flexors, right? And basically, what the program is going to do is it teaches you dynamic stretching, mobility exercises, muscle activation movement, and core stability exercises, and they're all based around that hip flexor area. So if you're having back pain, you're having bad posture, you can't rotate your hips, right? It's all based on these hip flexors. So What you want to do if you want to take advantage of this program, I highly recommend it. It's a step-by-step basis. Is somewhere in this video you can simply click the link below. You'll get some more information, and you'll be taken to a page where you can take advantage of the hip flexor, unlocking your hip flexor 2.0, or you can just click the link on this page wherever you're seeing the video. So either that link's going to take you to where you can get it, or you can get it exactly from clicking the link. So depending on where you're seeing it. So thanks for your time, and I hope that answers your question.